Yeah. Hey,
Off
Scott.
and running. Hey, Ivar.
The Leafs are officially eliminated from the playoffs, officially out of contention. They're hitting the golf course. The only thing we have to believe in now is, well, there's other teams, but the Jays, really, that's who we throw our weight behind. And I will say from my side, the Buffalo Sabres, because man, oh man, they're having a great run this year. And, you know, like the U.S. Olympic team winning the gold medal, they hadn't done it since 1980, and the Sabres have not been in the playoffs for over a decade now. I think it's 11 years. So let's throw our support behind our friends in Buffalo.
Yeah, you've got a lot of friends down. There's an association going way back, and certainly from the CFNY days. And I guess we'll touch on that in a second here when we talk about the tour. Unless you want to jump on that right now.
No, I you know what I want to touch upon, because you know it's we're taping this on Good Friday, and this morning you and I got something almost at the same time separately, and it made both of us laugh our heads off on this one. And this is. You got this from your wife, and I got mine sent from, my pseudo manager Megan Simsick, because when she has concerns about me, she calls me, says I'm her, she's my manager, but anyway, her real job is she's Rush's publicist. Anyway, so she sends me this audio of these guys getting quizzed in an indie record store about bands from the classic '80s CFNY era, and these guys. They will lose a lot of points if they cannot pronounce these bands properly. And I've heard some of these names being mispronounced previously. I will say that in my world, if you mispronounce it, you go straight to the rock and roll corner, Scott. My former assistant.
Which Scott has done.
Right,
myself a couple times on this show.
Not only did my former assistant and people on my team go to the rock and roll corner, I take great pride that I sent Julie Adam, the CEO of Universal Music, to the rock and roll corner because she screwed up on something on the hip. And you know what? Julie, being an absolute team player, the top of our company at the time, she went straight to the rock and roll corner. So she had acknowledged that she was wrong. So anyway, here's rock and roll.
I was going to say, in their defense, now these are kids, and so they're Gen Z, right?
Whatever. I mean, so what?
Yeah, and I think the clip is set up as so Gen Z pronouncing Gen X band names. Yeah. But these guys are working in a record store.
If you're in a record store, first of all, if you don't know these bands' names, you shouldn't be working in the fucking record store, right? So if you're part of that generation, you don't know it. I give you that. But if you're working in a record store and you don't know the names, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't be working there. They're just having a hard time getting help. That's all. I'm sorry for being a hard ass, but I am when it comes to music.
That's okay. I think people get a kick out of this. Let's play.
Let's hear it.
You need 5 to earn your vinyl card today. You ready?
All right, let's do it. Inks? I have no idea. In X?
I have 2 guesses. Do I get 2?
You can guess 2.
I'm going to say inks or in excess.
COXC and the Banshees. COXC and the Banshees.
Susie and the Banshees.
You know that one?
I love Susie and the Banshees.
That's Cher.
All right, you got 1.
Chair.
Cher.
Sade. That's Sade.
Sade? But it says Sade on the label. In the phonetic, it says Sade.
Okay. Sade it is.
The.
The?
That's 311.
If you got that one wrong, I would disown you.
Yeah. 311?
If you have to know that or you're fired.
I know, right?
See, that guy's he's doing the right thing.
Husker Du.
Husker Du?
Husker Du. Oh, Lord. Queen's Rashid.
Queen's Rashid. That's a good one.
Oh, I know this one. How I pronounce this? Eurythmics.
Eurythmics.
The Peachy Mode? Depeche Mode.
All right.
Depeche Mode.
Spandau Ballet.
Spandau Ballet?
Spandau Ballet?
What does that say?
What is that letter? Dingo, boingo. Oingo, boingo.
All right.
That's right.
That is correct.
Oingo, boingo.
Eraser.
Erasure.
Red Speedwagon. No.
Red Speedwagon.
What? Red Speedwagon.
REO Speedwagon.
Arza.
Urza?
RZA. Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba?
Chumbawamba.
All right.
Bjork.
Bjork, I freaking love Bjork.
I'm convinced it's just a bunch of random letters.
Okay, Scott.
Oh, I think there was one more. I think there was Jamiroquai, which is a tough one.
Yeah, listen.
Anyway, good laugh.
These kids utter, what's wrong with society today? Utter failures, unless to work at a record store and not know that stuff. And that guy's point where he says, if you didn't get 311, I would disown you. But I could see kids going, yeah, it's 311. Right. Anyway,
I like the.
Why not, right? And I did hear it when I was in Australia visiting Brad McNally. He said he actually had an announcer on one of his teams that said Inks.
Wow!
And it was also, and he also said the
in Australia,
Australia is one of their biggest bands ever, and also. He said it was the Isley Brothers too. So I don't think that guy was on Brad's team for very long because I know Brad was a no nonsense guy too.
Well, I screwed up a few in my time too, but yeah,
there's one or two. We all screw some of them, but these kids were, they got some work to do.
Yeah. So a couple things that we got some housekeeping here to before we jump into some milestones and some great releases and concerts. We're looking at the week of April 6th to the 12th, but we want to just wrap up on a couple things. First of all, the Junos, and Ivar got a call. It was like the night before.
Yeah,
to attend. That was great.
Was Friday night, and I'm just finished up our CFNY Doc in Waterloo, and I'm in the car, and I'm on my way home, and I look at my phone, and I'm like, oh, there's a text from my friend Megan, and she says, are you going to the Junos on Sunday in Hamilton? And I said, well, I hadn't planned on it. And so she calls me right away. So I call her, and I missed the call, and I called her right back, and I said, so what's going on? And she goes, just so you know, Rush is playing. They're opening up. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, of course I'm going to be there. And so anyway, they had a promo code to access the tickets, and the promo code was most promising 1975, which was what Rush was nominated for Juno when they started back in 1975. Now, Rush had not played at the Junos since 1978. There was Ivar Scot and Ray Wozniak on the show last week going, Rush never does TV, and they never do TV. So, and they had not done any TV since 2008. So, all right. So, so I took Ray with me. He's the first person I called because, Ray is such a, a fanatic, and it's the friendly thing to do. And so Ray and I drove down there, and we're sitting there, and we're having a conversation also with a couple of other former Universal employees who were down there. And what's it going to be? What are they going to play? It's like, gotta be Tom Sawyer, gotta be Spirit of Radio. It's gotta be something from that era. That's what it is. Right. And what do they open up with? Or what do they end up playing? Finding My Way. They had not played that song live since 1976. So there you go. First song on the first album. Wow. Yeah. And the first song that Neil played on.
Yes, that's the thing I heard. That was the first song that he had played live. And I thought that was fitting, with the new drummer. And also for those just who didn't hear that episode, the last episode, it was the 50th anniversary of 2112, and Ray Wozniak, who is a archivist and a great, he's got a history memory of Rush.
Unbelievable.
He just knows his stuff, and it's a great episode if you're a Rush fan in any which way. We do talk about the album, but we talk about other things Rush. So that was really cool. I watched that. I'm in Costa Rica, Ivor. I did watch that live, and I was just amazed. And our good friend Doug McClement was doing the soundboard and the sound production for the whole Junos. He's the guy that recorded the CFNY live shows.
Doug's amazing, and he was the one who said, well, because he did record them when they played at Starstock, and one of the most stressful things for Doug at Starstock was recording Neil Peart, because he had something like 67 drum tracks or something that he had to manage during their set, and he said it was
every little drum is mic'd.
Everything was mic'd. It was using every possible channel, and as a contrast with AC/DC playing, because AC/DC are I mean, they're very, a very much professional machine, but the sort of like the message that was given to Doug at Sarstock from AC/DC's tour managers, he came in, he goes, you know the songs, turn them up. And that's all he said to them, right? But meanwhile, Rush was the big stress. I did want to mention too that, Annika Niles, she was absolutely terrific. She didn't miss a beat. Absolutely fantastic. And the other person there making his debut is the keyboard player, Lauren Gold.
Yeah, I saw that.
So Lauren Gold, huge history. He's been the Who's keyboard player for the last dozen years. Also played with Chicago, and he is being the music director for a lot of sort of the top 40 pop acts. So he was the musical director for Hilary Duff and Selena Gomez and a lot of these kind of like, Disney style touring teen acts at the time. So he's got a tremendous history. So Lauren did terrific well, and he's going to take, he also did music direction for most recently for Tate McRae too. So anyway.
And he's on the tour, right?
He's on the tour.
Yeah, okay.
He's the only thing. Myself and Alan are going to go. We've decided we're going to go to Krakow, Poland, to see the show there. And I just found out that is the first time in Russia's history that they're going to play in Poland. So this is going to happen at the end of March next year. So we've secured our tickets, and off we go to Poland. So anyway.
And be careful. And be careful with your wallet this time, so Ivor loses his wallet.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So
at the Junos.
At the Junos. So there I am. I get home, and I'm like, where's my wallet? And I'm like, oh no, there's nothing like losing your wallet. But I will say, I was saved a couple of years back when my car was stolen and I had an Apple AirTag in it. I go to Colombia, I think it was 3 years ago, and we were going to a couple of places that weren't, in my opinion, the safest places. So I decided that I would put an Apple AirTag in my wallet. And I told my friends at the time, I give you access to this. If you don't see me for a while, you'll know where I am. So I totally forgot. I wake up on Monday morning and go, wait a minute, I have an Apple AirTag in my wallet. So I look it up, and sure enough, my wallet is still sitting at TD Coliseum. And so I reached out to the security team there. They get back to me and said, Mr. Hamilton, we've gone up to the seats and we've looked and we can't find it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to come down there and I'm still going to have a look. So I went down there because you can see right on your app where your wallet is. And so that they took me right up to the area where we were sitting. He goes, well, our guy went in there and he had a look. He goes, I think he might have looked in the wrong section. And I'm like, oh, that's really reassuring. Anyway, I went up to the section and just pulled the seat back, and it was sitting in between the seat, wedged in there. So thank God I got my wallet back.
And I used them for luggage, but when you said that, and I thought, because they're really quite small for anybody. If you're not using them in your luggage, you got to do that. But that's a great idea for a wallet.
Yeah. So anyway,
what I do?
Yeah.
What I was going to say, when I go to certain countries, especially in a busy, crowded tourist area, I actually take my wallet from my back pocket, and I it's a little, bulky in that and uncomfortable, but I put my wallet in my front pocket.
Yes. And I did that a lot in Italy last year, because we were in a lot of high traffic areas, and that's quite important. I mean, my jeans were kind of loose, and which is, for me has not been the case too much recently, but now I've been sort of on this weight loss journey again. So I am losing some weight, and some of the pants are loosening up, but whatever. That's my private business. I did want to continue a little bit on the Junos, some other highlights. Sure. I thought Daniel Caesar was absolutely magnificent. It was an acoustic song that he played, and they won an award doing it in the audience. But, here's me and Daniel Caesar, the popular, he's popular in R&B and hip hop, but I'm sitting there listening to his music going, this guy's an amazing crossover into the world of folk and some earlier lighter prog material. And, and I sort of, went down, a research hole and said, yes, absolutely. So, this weekend on my next week on my show in NY The Spirit, I was like, I'd mix Daniel Caesar in with Pink Floyd, a song from Dark Side of the Moon, Rodriguez, and Nick Drake, because it's just the acoustics are absolutely fantastic. I just thought that he's a magnificent artist, and they've just announced a show in August, going to be at Scotiabank Arena too. So anyway, big shout out to Daniel Caesar for what he did. Now, my whole thing on the Junos was because it was in Hamilton, and Nelly Furtado getting her Hall of Fame award was, to me, they should have done it for Teenage Head, because that's the, who knows when they're going to be in Hamilton again. But they did it for Nelly Furtado. She's 46 years old. They could have done it 10 years from now and it still would have been fine. Anyway, they did it. And the other hell freezes over moment that happened was that the video tributes that came in, they got one from Drake, and Drake did a big shout out to Nelly Furtado. Now, Drake has not appeared in any shape or form at the Junos, nor has he been nominated because of his own wishes since 2011. And in 2011, whatever award he was up for, Album of the Year, Song of the Year, probably up for all of them, he was snubbed by Shad. No disrespect to Shad, but, Drake might have sold one or two more records than Shad, and might have had maybe 3 billion more streams than Shad. So Drake's, and I'm serious, I'm not exaggerating that whatsoever. So Drake said to the Junos at the time, don't you ever expect me to do anything for you. I will never come back to the Junos, and don't even nominate me, because I will not even accept the nominations. So for Drake to give his tribute to Nelly Furtado, that was a step forward. Cool. So we'll see what happens. And going back to Teenage Head, it was something better than nothing. They played Teenage Head songs leading up to commercial breaks in the auditorium and part of the broadcast. So I think I heard Top Down and one or two other songs in there. So that was okay. And then getting to, the Lifetime Achievement Award for Joni Mitchell, inducted in by Prime Minister Mark Carney, who made a great speech. And then Joni Mitchell got up and, talked about her happy dress. And then they did two songs, including, the finale right at the end, where they did Big Yellow Taxi, and Sarah McLachlan and Julie Black up there, amongst many other people in there. And Joni joined in on that. Now, I was looking forward to really enjoying that. But, Scott, you go to the movies and they put on an announcement before the movies start, and it's like Tommy Texter and Chatty Cathy, right? Well, I had the world's biggest, this guy and his girlfriend, I think they might have won tickets from a radio station or from somebody, or somebody must have given them tickets, because they never paid attention to the awards for 1 second for the entire time. Yap, chatty the whole time. So I finally turned to them. I said, can you please have some respect for our prime minister and be quiet? And I would have said a lot more than that had they not, but they backed right down and they shut up at the end. But it was just really disrespectful. And it goes back to what you talked about on the previous episode, where I think it was, I can't remember
John Mayer,
when you were at the, whatever it was, the Rivoli one of those rooms, and everybody at the back room and ignoring the artist and just
talked through every song.
Yeah. So
drove me crazy. Yeah.
People who sat beside me in real life, I would have told you to shut the fuck up, but I was polite and being Canadian, said, please pipe down and be respectful. And they did. Yeah. So there you go.
Good for you. Good for you. Okay. Just before we do the CFNY Doc tour update, and there's a great merch update too. I just want to play just from last episode. We talked about that Rush episode, which was really cool. Is the song we were talking about? How did we get onto the song? Oh, we were talking about the Prince album. I think it was the anniversary of the Prince album.
Yeah, the Prince record, and you and I went back and forth on this, and you couldn't really remember it, but I certainly did, because I have 4 copies of it in my collection. So I'm very, very much reminded that this was a big part of what I did when I did the Import Show back in the 80s, and this one comes from 1986, and it's funny how it's like Scott goes, I certainly remember the Tom Jones version. And said, well, I remember the Age of Chance version. So, we travel in different circles.
Yeah, it's okay. I was calling you out because you said Age of Chance. I go, Ivor, don't you mean Art of Noise? And he's on Age of Chance. And I'm like,
Age of Chance.
I don't remember that. So I had to dig it up. So we'll play a clip of that right now. So,
let's hear it.
And I like it. How many people have covered the song Kiss by Prince? This is one of them. Age of Chance.
To rule my world, ain't no particular sign I'm more compatible with. I just want your extra time and your kiss.
Yeah, it's that heavy guitar, and you know what? I remember that. I think in the clubs, that went down pretty big. In the clubs. Remind me of another song.
That was a road show. You know, something you'd play in the road show. You know, playing it with Ministry and Skinny Puppy. Oh yeah, I'll play that Age of Chance because that'll mix in well.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, speaking of the road show, the CFNY Extended Mix Doc Tour continues. We're winding down. We're getting down to some last dates. So the next one is April 17th, Harmony Hall. You're going to be there, Ivar, Liz Janik, Alan Cross will be doing the Q&A at that one. And that does include the Video Roadshow, right?
Yes, we are doing the Video Roadshow. Roger Roadshow is coming back for that one. He was dealing with the hall this week, getting the measurements there so we can fit the screen in properly. We're going to add something else to it too. We're going to have the merch down in the basement area of the hall, and I thought I would put together kind of like a separate little CFNY chill lounge, and we're going to play like some old radio shows that we have in our archives over the sound system down there, because they got two separate sound systems. I just thought it'd be fun for people to hear some old shows that might have some old commercials and promos and stuff like that. So we're working on that right now, as well as lots of the classic videos from back in the day. I'm working with our DJ Sadeep, and it's going to be a great night. We do have tickets there, and Scott, our new merch, is with us now. I got to say that our classic 80s t-shirts really were huge business when we were in Hamilton and in Waterloo this past week. Two great shows. I mean, two very distinct styles of audiences, though, I will say, both in Waterloo and in Hamilton, and we had a full house for both of those shows. So tickets are still available at an Eventbrite for Harmony Hall. So
cool. Then off to Vancouver. So it's the 25th of April at Hollywood Theater in Vancouver. And we've got a number of people that worked at CFNY that live out there, that work and live out in the Vancouver area, like Neil Morrison, Brother Bill, who we had on the show, and Captain Phil and Scott Eagleson, all who were in the documentary. And you and Alan will be out for that one too.
Yeah, we're gonna head out there for that. And we're gonna do our best to kind of talk about some connections. So, I'll give you a little my background is that's where I was born. That's where I was brought up. My first love of music came from listening to the radio in Vancouver that helped to shape my career, listening to Terry David Mulligan on CKLG Top 40 and also playing the babysitter that my parents hired. They used to come over with boxes of 45s, and that was my first. That's how I first became a real music person, at the age of like 8, because of CKLG and ended up shaping my career. So as I said, we're going to try and tell some stories that kind of relate to the Vancouver area, and of course, there's a lot of wonderful bands from that area too. That some of them will hope to come out and see us that night too.
Yep. And the final on the tour, and we have not got tickets on sale just yet. Maybe just update everybody on the June 6th.
Yeah, so we're at the Cyril Clarke Theater on the 6th of June. That is in the Highway 10 and Sandalwood area at Brampton. So on that particular evening, though, we have myself, Alan Cross, Scott, you'll be there, Liz will be there, David Marsden, only second time on the whole run, will come out because it is the hometown of Brampton of CFNY. And here's a first for us. Fred Patterson will be in the house with us that night. And I've also reached out to All Night Andre to be a part of it. And to me, it's very significant to have Andre there in amongst this group, because Andre was the very first person to play a record when CFNY went to 100,000 watts. So to me, that makes a lot of sense. So we're going to have Andre there. We're just working through some logistics with the city of Brampton. It's gone a little bit slower than I thought. You can well imagine it's a union shop. There are committees, there are decisions, and I was like, yeah, we'll get them on sale this weekend or whatever. It's like, well, Ivar, you need to fill out this form, and once you fill that out, it depends on their avails, and it'll get back to you. It's like, all right, so this. I apologize for the delays. We will make everybody aware of it as soon as possible. And I just will throw one more into the hat because we haven't announced it yet, but I'm going to tease May 29th in Buffalo. We talked to U.S. immigration attorneys, and we're going to make Buffalo happen finally. So I'm absolutely thrilled that we will be in Buffalo on Friday. I think it's Friday, May 29th. And Scott and Liz and myself, Nicholas Pickles, will be a part of that show. We will bring the road show across too. We might as well, hey, right? So
yes.
we'll have the merch on. We'll have the merch on hand too. It's going to be great. There's great legacy. I've reached out to some people, and we got people listening in Buffalo and Western New York and Lewiston and Tonawanda and all of those areas. I'm looking for photos from the 80s of some of the venues down there, whether that be the library, the Pleasure Dome, Amanda's, the Stone Jug, the Pink, the Continental, all of those places that had anything to do, that were kind of CFNY-ish, University of Buffalo shows, anything like that, because we're going to do, and also Buffalo personalities that were part of the CFNY world. And those include Don Burns, Darren Pfeiffer, and Nicholas Pickles, as well as people that were just friends of CFNY. So I'm looking for pictures because we want to put some Buffalo slides from the Spirit of Radio air, and I know some people have already reached out. I heard from Matt Coppola, who was the DJ at the library, and he already sent me a bunch of fun pictures from back in the 80s. So we want to make it fun for everybody. It's going to be a great night on May the 29th. And of course, then we off to Brampton to finish things off. And we conclude the end of the Doc tour. Thank you to everybody who's come out so far. It's been a fabulous experience to date.
Yeah, and it's really been important, especially Ivar has been big behind this charge to get into Western New York. And if you've seen the documentary, and if you haven't, and you will see the documentary, it's explained in the documentary how when the station, first went to its 100,000 watts in 1977, it didn't go to the east end of Toronto very well, but it went down to Buffalo and Western New York really well. So those people, that area knew the station early on before it went to the CN Tower where we were covered everywhere. So that was an important distinction about, the evolution of the station and the signal and that. So that goes way back to 77, that the Buffalo, Niagara area, all were huge fans of the station.
I can't stress that enough. I mean, and it's very prominent too with other acts. I mean, like the Tragically Hip, like they were kicking themselves on that final tour that they did in 2016, that they should have done Buffalo. All the Canadian acts, and they stayed there, and they could have gone down east, and they could have sold out 1 million dates. But I think the one that they still talk about that they should have done was Buffalo, and Buffalo and that whole from the Lewiston area right through to Buffalo, and as far as the signal went, the CFNY fans were always the best, and we got to be there for them. They have not been able to see this documentary whatsoever because of the geo targeting, not available. The only thing they'd be able to see is the trailer, and so they'll get a chance to see. This will be their only chance. This will be our one and only U.S. screening. And we're going to do some tie-ins with BTPM The Bridge, because BTPM The Bridge was based on CFNY. So they'll be talking about, hey, let's do something special. So we'll probably do some other things with The Bridge to help promote it. But it's going to be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. And we're going to have Nicholas Pickles DJ, and he DJs and VJs in Buffalo on a regular basis. So he knows the town. He knows. And he knows the music really well. And he was a great asset to have at our Hamilton show last week, because he was only there for a couple of years towards the very end, during the mistake of '88, just prior to that and a little bit after. So he had some great perspective, especially on some of the, people like Shep and Marty. And he brought a bunch of show and tell items too, which was just so fantastic. He brought a Lloyd Cole album. It's like, there's the purple dots, there's the double purple dots, here's Ivar's handwriting on it, and we passed it around the room. So that was lots of fun.
Now, and he's still doing radio in Buffalo, right?
He is. He's doing a morning show in Buffalo. Yeah. So he's very well known radio guy. And it was funny, I last weekend I went out with my nephew and his family to lunch, and he always listens to the podcast, and he goes, "Oh, Uncle Ivar," he goes, "Nicholas Pickles. I used to watch him all the time on YTV," and I totally forgot that he was a YTV personality later on too, right? So
I did too, yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead.
No, no, just saying that's a younger generation related to that. And my nephew, by the way, and if you saw the documentary and you see Jim Cuddy talking about, we went up to Brampton and we played at the house, and there's a still of them playing at the house, which was actually the house that I lived at. But the little boy who's on stage with Blue Rodeo is my nephew, who's now 43. He was 5 at the time. So that's the kid
standing up there in the video.
That's my
awesome.
Nephew. So
awesome.
I said, do your friends know that? Do you tell people that? He goes, well, I've told a few of them. I said, well, that's good. Anyway.
I love that. Well, we mentioned radio here, and Nicholas still doing radio, and you talked about how you first listened to radio out in Vancouver. I have a little bit of a surprise for you here. And I wanted to bring up Humber College because we both went to Humber College. So you listening to radio in Vancouver, and then you decided you wanted to be in radio, and you went to Humber College. What year are we talking?
Well, I was at Humber College from 77 straight out of high school for 77 till the first quarter of 70. No, it would have been I guess until early 79. I think I got through 3 semesters or whatever. I also got threatened to get kicked out. That's not a lie about playing all the punk records, on CHBR. But it was a good, and my poor mother, because my mom was a school teacher and she was always believed in getting your full education, your degrees, probably for a decade after that. She goes, honey, can you please go back and get your degree on that? And I said, Mom, it's never going to make any difference in the radio course. And of course it didn't, but in any other field, it would have made if I had a BA or something like that, if I had studied English literature or business school, it would have made a difference, but not in the radio course.
No, and I was just a couple of years after you, and that was kind of the going conversation is, well, you needed to learn a few things, but get a gig as soon as possible, and sometimes they pilfered, there were job postings from, and it was usually, up in Wawa or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
You'd run off to take the gig and be like, yeah, go, good for you.
I think I was, for me, it was, I got the deal of the century. I mean, not on salary, because nobody made jack shit in radio, and especially at CFNY, we didn't make anything. But as a dream to work at the station that I loved and worshipped so much for the wonderful music that they played, and it was so different than anything else, and have an opportunity to shape that and bring music to other people, that was a dream job for me. So for me to have my very first job in the music business at CFNY was just like, wow, I hit the jackpot for $7,000 a year.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to bring up Humber College because for a couple of reasons. And back in those days, Humber College, the radio course, that was the place to be, to get into radio. Everybody that wanted to be a part of it, that was the course to take. So the reason I bring this up is because we just finished the month of March, and that was the very end of the radio broadcasting program at Humber College. It is canceled. There's no more radio broadcasting. I think it's like 50 years they've been doing it.
Easily, I would think so. And some amazing people went through that course beyond you and I. And Neil Morrison, Brother Bill, was in that course, and my competitors, music directors at both Chum FM and Mix 99 at the time, or went on to be Boom 97.3, Wayne Webster and Barry Stewart. And I think you worked with Barry. I'm not sure. Maybe you worked with Barry.
Yes.
I don't know if you did, but Barry Stewart.
Yeah, I did. Yes.
tremendous gentleman, was also in that course. So, and we all always had a loyalty, I felt, to that course, because it, if you got asked to come back and speak to students, trying to do the same career path as you, it was something that was the right thing to do. I really did enjoy my time there. There was one of the instructors there, Dave Spencer. He was awesome, and he also helped write the original Promise of Performance for CFNY, along with Chris Ruzicka. And then there was another gentleman who's like a real literary guy. Was fantastic, Wason Choi. And so anyway, it was a great experience at the time, but I do understand in 2026, like, nobody really wants to get into radio, and I've had some people, like, I know May Potts, her daughter worked at The Edge for a short time and then got laid off. She's not in the business anymore. There was another young lad that I met at our Montreal screening who his parents were, came to the screening because they're huge CFNY fans. And so he decided he wanted to get into radio. Well, his first job was in the Northwest Territories, and he just went, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Another fella too in the business, his daughter did the same thing. All of them are out of the business now. It's so frustrating. It's not really, unfortunately, a great career path other than podcasting. And, Scott, you and I are generating, just millions and millions of dollars in this podcast, as you know. So and let's have a word from our sponsors. Oh, 10 seconds of silence.
Yeah.
So, it's times have changed, and the job's not there anymore. Like, there's not many cobbler's jobs or, milkman jobs these days anymore either. So radio, I hate to say it, has kind of gone in that direction, and some people will kill me for it. And there are some, as we know, there's still some amazing radio stations out there, but I guess
and some people still have gigs. Not many. Yeah. But some still have gigs. Okay, so here's a quick surprise. So Ivar's left the course, the Humber College radio course, early. He's working at CFNY. I'm like this 18, 19-year-old kid. I'm taking the radio course. I'm dreaming about working at CFNY. I'm there at the course, and I'm thinking, okay, you get to do these programs. Part of the curriculum is putting a feature together. So I decided I'm going to do a feature on New Wave.
Ooh.
And so I decided why don't I just call up the radio station? And there's that guy on the station. I love his import show, and he's a really cool guy, Ivar Hamilton. Why don't I call him up and see if I can go do an interview?
And you still have the tape,
I did.
Right?
And so I have audio. Here we go.
All right.
Listen, you'll get a kick out of hearing my old college radio voice here. So here you go.
One station that does give airplay to New Wave is CFNY.
Ooh.
Brad McNally of CFNY gave us his reasons for why other radio stations shy away from playing New Wave.
They just don't want to upset anybody. Play what we get off the telephone there. And, it should be played. I mean, it's fresh. Most of it is fresh. It's new. It's just fun rock and roll.
Ivar Hamilton of CFNY adds his comments of why Toronto's two major FM rock stations play very little new wave music.
What they're doing is just a major trend that they see in the States. They're just so tightly formatted, and they're going to have to change. They're just so narrow-minded. They're afraid. Chum didn't play Talking Heads before. And we played a lot of it. We played the hell out of it, and now they're playing it. And, they're finally seeing the light in a lot of things. They're playing a lot more than they were, say, a year ago. And so is Q. Q plays the Police now, too. But they're still very skeptical about a lot of things.
Yeah, there's a clip.
You and I had really different voices back then.
Totally.
Ooh, and Q107 playing the Police. Ooh, what a stretch. Oh, my God.
I don't know if I have more of that interview, but I'll look for it. See if I can dig
it's fun. It's fun to revisit that. And it was, it was good. It was good years. And I still have a couple of friends that I'm in touch with every once in a while on that. And I remember we had the Diodes come to the pub night one night, and that was, that's new wave and punk rock. And everybody like pogoing on the dance floor there, and I had a Damn t-shirt on, and I was like, oh, this is great. We had to get somebody to give us a lift back to Humber, and then we had to hitchhike home. We didn't get home till 6 a.m. or whatever. So
hey, by the way, you were really, really kind to me. Very nice. And I got to see the Yellow House. So.
Oh, well, I mean, listen, Scott, I think I'm still somewhat of a kind person these days. I try to be.
You are.
You are
yes,
too.
You
are. Why not, right? You tried to help people out back then. I couldn't say no to the good people at Humber College. I could not.
Yeah. Okay, let's roll through some milestones, some memories, and start with the 2000s this week. We're looking at the week of April 6 to 12. Okay, I've got here of April 11th, 2006, Chemical City, Sam Roberts, 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago. And guess what? Sam Roberts just doing a reissue of that record, a 20th anniversary reissue. And they are playing some dates at Massey Hall. They're doing a 20th anniversary tour for that. They're syncing up a reissue and doing this tour dates. And we actually have a request in to have Sam Roberts on the show as somebody who I worked with pretty extensively over the years. Great guys in that band. I actually went out to see them last summer at the Jackson Triggs Winery. I know they're going to be back there. They do every summer. They do Jackson Triggs and they do the Key to Bala, and I know they've got a date up there. They're announcing all the Key to Bala dates now too. It's the usual suspects. You know, it's Sam Roberts is doing a date, the Beaches. You'll get Kim Mitchell up there. You'll get David Wilcox, all the usual suspects that you would expect to see at the Key to Bala.
And you know what you're saying, just because you're in the Ivar's in Niagara on the lake area and all the wineries around there, and there are more and more of them doing entertainment, doing events and bands, and how cool is that? And you're just, just a short ride down the road.
It's interesting.
Walk. You can even walk to one of them.
I could. There's the Ravine Vineyard, just vineyard right around the corner. I can walk to that, but there was some stats that were given yesterday. I heard on the World Cup and the amount of people coming in and paying their $25,000 for tickets at the World Cup. And I'm not kidding. These tickets are outrageously expensive. But that what they said was the biggest thing that people want to do outside of visiting Toronto while they're here is come to Niagara. And so it just gives you an illustration. Well, of course, they all want to go see Niagara Falls, but there's so many other things to do here in Niagara. There's a big rise in a lot of culinary places as well on top of what you see. And of course, if you've got kids, man, oh man, every kid. Parents takes them at some place to Great Wolf Lodge, and that's a lot of fun to visit too.
Yeah, you got to save up for that one, from what I understand. I don't have kids, but I've heard it's
yeah. There you go.
It'll ding it. Okay, so 25 years ago, April 6, 2001, the film Blow opens in theaters, and when I was looking at that, I was like, oh, and immediately when it's one of my favorite films, but always
play the music,
opening.
Scott. Play the music. But just play the music.
Yeah, let's play this, because it's honestly, because I watched a bit of the beginning of the film just to see how early the song comes in. It's like 2 seconds, and then it starts. I had to cut it quick because that riff has been used in so many shows. We'll get caught on that one immediately.
It's better than
that was actually in Casino before Blow.
Casino was an amazing movie for music. Like they nailed it on that 70s music in that movie. That's why I loved it so much. It's pretty long too. It's a great film, but the music is great. And Scott, at least they didn't use Start Me Up, because Start Me Up got just overdone, right? And
Agreed.
In my days at Universal, it's like every time there was a presentation for the company, somebody goes, we should use Start Me Up. And I'm like, not in my watch. We're not using Start Me Up. You can put anything on the table, but we are not using Start Me Up. Anyway, the Blow movie was just like that. All of the stuff that was in that, like Ram Jam, Black Betty was in that movie too, which was like kick-ass song. Tired Horses, Bob Dylan, Willie Rosario, Let's Boogaloo, Manfred Mann, Blinded by the Light. So you're sitting there going, you've got a great 70s soundtrack along with a drug culture film.
Yeah, and I think they almost use the entire song, or just up to that point where they go into that guitar solo and that sort of jam at the beginning of Blow. But it's funny you talk about overuse because, after that, it was used in, did you ever see the series Ozark?
I'm not in depth. I think I saw a little bit of it, but
you have to watch Ozark. It's fantastic. With Jason Bateman and Laura Linney. That is a great series. Anyway, they used it in that, and then Jack Ryan, one of the recent seasons of Jack Ryan, it was used. So it's been used a few times. But one quick thing I want to mention on this, because Sticky Fingers is probably my favorite Rolling Stones album, and I'm a big fan of that era of the Stones, especially because of Mick Taylor. And I used to listen on the headphones, and this is what I recommend. Especially if you're a Stones fan, you've probably already done it. Put the headphones on, listen to Can You Hear Me Knocking, because it's separated. Keith is on one side, and Mick Taylor's playing guitar on the other side. And Keith is the lead of the rhythm. Like, he's the guy that kicks off that riff, because Keith is one of the great riff creators of all time. And you can actually hear, this is Keith, and then over here it's like Mick Taylor playing, a kind of more of a basic rhythm to Keith's riff. But then later on, it's Mick Taylor that plays the solo, which he did on a lot of the tours in that. So it's just a great song on an album.
I've got many, many favorite Stones songs, and like that, Can You Hear Me Knocking and Satisfaction too. Like the first time I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that was like, that just like the riffs in that was absolutely amazing. But one of the songs that's super mellow, and it almost sounds like Santana, and it was a Mick Taylor, it was a Mick Taylor thing, and I don't believe they ever performed it live, was Time Waits for No One. And I just thought it was just such a magnificent song. And here's me in 2015. I met the band at the Festival d'Été in Quebec City, and I'm backstage, and I didn't realize it was Mick Taylor. So there I am to Keith, saying, Keith, my favorite song is Time Waits for No One, right? And he's like, whatever, mate. I was like, and after that, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to the Rock and Roll Corner this time, right? So and that's after I got yelled at by Mick because I was wearing, there's a Stones tribute bar out on the Danforth, and I had a t-shirt from that, and he's like, where did you get that t-shirt from? Some bootleg or whatever. And I'm like, note to self, never wear a Stones t-shirt that was made by a restaurant in your neighborhood, right? So the next time I made sure that I did none of that.
Yeah, well, and Mick was, as I said, predominantly doing those kind of leads and those, and a song like Time Waits for No One and Can't You Hear Me Knocking, which goes into that kind of jam session almost. And I was reading that was just improvised. They did it in one take. They just kept the tape rolling. They thought that the recording had ended, and they just kept it in there. And I think, Time Waits for No One and that stuff, again, just the way it stretches out and they jam is just awesome.
I want to also make mention, and this is a Martin Streak thing, and this goes back to the CFNY Roadshow, and you probably didn't know this, but one of the songs that we played the most, because we were kind of short on some slow jams, and you're in these certain situations, high schools, universities, whatever, every once in a while you need a slow jam. And one of our most popular slow jams that we had, and we were also short of videos in the early days. There weren't a lot, right? We took whatever we could get, but one of the videos that we always played a lot, and Marty did a great imitation of Mick Jagger, was Waiting on a Friend. And so, and Jagger's kind of doing his, ooh, like this, whatever. Martin did an amazing imitation of Jagger. You could probably just imagine it if you knew Marty. So some love for the Stones on the road show.
Yes. And we got to see more Marty than anybody backstage. He just couldn't stop. He was always just a character.
Yes, for sure.
Good time. All right, we're going to move into the 90s. The 90s. Okay, we'll start with a few from 30 years ago, 1996, April 8th, Muscle Shoals, Ocean Color Scene album.
Now, I thought that was in the 90s, but that's okay if we missed that one. I thought
it is 90s, isn't it?
It is in
96.
96. Oh, we're doing the 90s. I'm sorry. Whatever we do.
Yeah, that's okay.
90s. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Every once in a while, you and I remember, Scott, the Thursday 29. We remind ourselves every once in a while we miss a number, but
we're looking at a lot of dates. I got to mix up a lot.
It is. Well, we cut it down because we're trying to get it down from 6 hours every week. So, it was significance of that record. I mean, it was like one of the sort of, opus records along with, Oasis and Verve of the 90s at the height of Britpop. So, but it's kind of lesser known in these parts, but that record sold 1 million too in the UK. It was absolutely massive. So, Day You Caught the Train on that. The Riverboat song is the one that I remember the most off of that one. It was kind of like pure pop with a bit of psychedelia in there. I like the band, but, it was like another one of those ones that, massive stars in the UK. You wouldn't know them if they walked into your living room in Canada or the US. It's just one of those ones that worked very well over there, but not so much here.
So I got 30 years ago, Joan Osborne at the Phoenix. Was this her first? You worked with her and the album. So was this the first show?
I believe it was. I believe it was. I remember we had a lot of back and forth with Mercury Records to try and get her up here to play. And I don't think she had come back on numerous occasions over the years. And I think she had played, I remember her telling me that she had played in Canada prior to that when she was an indie artist, but that was the first time on that, album that had the One of Us record or whatever on that. But, she distinctly told me, she goes, I have to play that song. I'm going to have to play that song, right? She didn't like playing that song. I said, well, Joni, and I called her Joni, and I said, is it okay if I call you Joni? And the label, is it okay if we call her Joni? He says, yes, you can. I mean, I was very sweet on her. She was a doll, right? She was cool.
That's all right. Yeah. Okay. Also have here April 9, 1996, 30 years ago, Children, Robert Miles. This was the big sort of official release because it was out of Italy as a kind of independent in 95 and got a lot of play at raves. It was this melodic sort of trance track that really caught on. And Dr. Trance, Don Burns, our good friend, it was one of his signature songs. In fact, you were at the tribute when we did the Into the Light tribute. I think that was like the final song that we played in the night. For Dawn.
Yeah, I mean, Scott, there are some things in that world that you have the ears for, and Dawn did. I just don't. Like I listen to it and go, it sounds like Night at the Roxbury, like I just God, it's okay. It's just like going to because I'm reading some research, it's like, oh yeah, it's like this was like more mellow, it's kind of a more mellow direction. I'm like, it just sounds like the same. And this is really, me being an old fart going, yeah, it just sounds like the same old shit, right? It's like, and as Ben Hoffman quoted to me once, the guy who ran the Record Peddler, get the delete bins ready. I just don't hear it.
As you know, it ended up being a massive worldwide hit, and it's an instrumental, right? Which doesn't always happen. So
I just sound like, and it's their parents go, all these songs sound the same, and it's like I sound like somebody's parents. This sounds like the same as all.
Get off my lawn.
Techno stuff, exactly. So anyway,
I'll take your word. Let's go back. Yeah, 35 years ago this week, 91, The Ghosts That Haunt Me, the Crash Test Dummies album is released. A big record, had Superman's song on it.
Juno won the Juno Group of the Year that year, 4 times platinum record. And it's down to Brad Roberts' baritone voice. It was so unique at the time that made it special. And, I think of the early 90s, and that's one that, brings back a lot of memories from, what we were all doing during the early 90s.
And let's also the same week, April 6, 1991, the debut album from a young lady out of Ottawa named Alanis.
Alanis, yes.
This is the debut album that many people want to forget.
Well, Alanis wants to forget it too. I mean, she really does. I mean, that record is not out there, right? It's just not out there. She has done due diligence to kind of just, not allow MCA Records, that's who she was signed to re-release it. She has denied that. I don't know if it's up on the digital services or not. If it is, it's very, very limited. But she has gone out of her way to basically disown those records.
Well, look at that. We have an audio clip.
There you go. You found something.
Here, we'll play. So for those that don't know, before Jagged Little Pill, there was it was a pop dance thing.
I mean, they were positioning her like Tiffany at the time, and you know.
Yeah. So here's a little clip of one of the singles from that album. You get the idea. I actually did okay on the charts, I think, in Canada at the time.
Oh, you know, you could work the charts and get it up there, but you know, that's one that's I'm okay if she, you know, I'm with her. If she didn't want it up there, that was fine. You know, I respect. I mean, when my days at uni were in the catalog department, we respected her wishes. I was like, you know, listen to that. I'm like, yeah, she's got a point. So,
well, and now, of course, now in the digital world, right? As soon as something's digitized, it's out there. Thanks to the internet, you can't hide anything anymore.
Yes, well, you can, and I take you to task on some of that because the major labels have lost the rights to a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff's being pulled down. But to your point on maybe, you know, YouTube or something that somebody's put up, you know, user generated content, but you do find a lot of things that are not up on the likes of a Spotify or Apple Music anymore because the rights have expired on certain things. There'll always be some people that have things that they do their own little thing in that, but officially a lot of those titles have been pulled down where contractually they want them to be pulled down, and that's becomes frustrating. I know when we have tried to put up some of our playlists. This one, for example, I'm not sure if I'll be able to put it on our weekly playlist. Now, Scott, that's probably not a bad thing, but you know, there could be other.
Be okay with that.
Yeah, I think in other weeks there would be songs that we wanted to play that unfortunately the rights aren't there to it anymore. So
yeah. Okay, so before we jump into, we got the 80s coming up next. Let's just jump into any concert announcements. Do you have any this week? There wasn't a lot.
I do. There's a couple, and there's some good ones actually.
And then just hold on to that because Ivar and I are going to play a couple of new songs, just clips, very small clips of some new songs that we heard just recently. We thought we'd share with you.
Did you want to Did you want to do that before we do the concert announcements, or do the
sure, if you want.
Okay. So
do you want to set up one of yours first? I've only got one. You've got like two. And again, these are going to have to, it's too bad because it's new music, but we have to play short clips, everybody, or we get in trouble.
Well, I picked these two just because these bands are coming to town. First one, I think they're out of Brighton, Get Down Services, and I think this is going to be their debut concert in Canada, April 14th at the Garrison. And also playing this music on my NY show too. A song called Eat, Quiche, Repeat.
All right.
I'm gonna hate your socks off. I'll hate so hard your eyes vibrate. There's dog muck on my bare feet each week. Then I'm gonna eat, sleep, seed, eat, quiche, repeat. I found the world's biggest love at the world's smallest meet and greet. I gave a 2-star review of a film that I hadn't even seen. I've got something on my face in the space where my mouth sleeps. It doesn't speak, it secretes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? This is like because I just heard it this morning, and I just obviously pulled the clip for the show. And now that I hear it like a second, third time, I think this is growing on me. I love it.
Oh, I mean, you know, when I put my shows together, I always put together. I start doing it. I put together a playlist of it, and then I'll go out on a walk with Ella, or I'll get in the car and have to go someplace, and I'll go and listen to the whole show and go, this works and that doesn't work. I'll take something out or I'll move something around. And so this song from Get Down Service is like, oh man, I went back to it 3 or 4 times going, this is really, really great. And then this
I want to hear this. Hold on a sec. I just want to hear this. The first opening line, what he says, the first lines of this. I love. Hang on. All right. Oh, hang on. Back to the beginning. Hang on. No, it's not going to let me do that. Anyway,
the fecal
lyrics are great.
Yeah, the fecal in his pants, and then I got to take a piss or whatever. I mean, the lyrics are ridiculous in this band. You go through their stuff. That's a bit of their, you know, they're singing about stuff that nobody else sings about, boys and girls. I got to tell you, whether that's
okay. Here it is. I just want to play this opening line again. Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on.
socks off.
I'm gonna hate your socks off.
Yeah.
I just like,
So
right, you got my attention right away.
Yeah. So anyway, the other one is dry cleaning, and dry cleaning have been around for a number of years, and even this song isn't new, but it was new to me. And you hear something that's like new, and you're like, oh my God. Every once in a while, you go, how did I ever miss this song? Because it just like, if I knew this song when it came out, it would have been one back in the day with CFNY. You would have had it on the air in a second, and you would have developed it into a, one of those CFNY only hits or whatever. And the
Could be
same with
double purple dot, Ivar.
you put a double purple dot on that mofo and let the kids hear it, right? And so Dry Cleaning had a song called Scratch Your Lanyard, which was their first single, and that got me hooked originally. And I kind of, after that, there was a lot of other things that came out, and I just kind of like, yeah, it's pretty good, but it's not great. Anyway, I was remiss. Their stuff actually is really, really great. They have a brand new record out now, but they're playing on the 1st of May at the concert hall. It's rescheduled from January 26th, but this song is actually from 2019. And swear to God, Scott, sounds like the B-52s meets Gang of Four. And check it out. It's called The Magic of Megan.
Anyway, I just one.
The riff on that just blows me away how great that is. And they're the shtick, their singer is like, it's mostly spoken word stuff, but like, God damn it. Like, these guys are fantastic. Love them. Dry Cleaning. Check out more. And what do you got
here's
for us,
one
Scott?
This just came into my feed, and it's one of these things you're just like, oh, I'll listen to this for a second. I'm like, wow. And just immediately reminded me of early Cure days. Anyway, the band's called, this is a terrible name for a band. Like, just, they're called the Mouth Ulcers.
Oh, for God's sakes.
I know. Like, how's, and they look like the video, they look really cool. And they're doing post-punk, which they call, I guess, dark wave now, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, the song is called Prevail. But just listen to the instrumentation here. It's just like, boy, is this ever like early Cure? Here we go.
Okay.
The Mouth Ulcers. They got to change the name.
Yeah.
Vocals are kind of down in the mix a bit, but he kind of whispers through it.
Feels like Peter Hook's the bass player in that band to me. It sounds very much New Order bass too, with a Cure feel to it, with a little bit of some cheesy sound effects. As sometimes you get on those things. Where are those guys from? Do you know? Or
London. I think they're fairly new. Maybe only together last year or so. Just I haven't read a lot about them, but London, UK.
Okay.
Anyway, that was the Mouth Ulcers. That is my worst band name pick of the year so far.
That is, I give you that one. All right. So shall we run through some new concert announcements this week?
Yes, sorry. Yes, go
ahead. It's funny too. I had a great conversation the other day with Darren Wozlik, who was the former promo guy for CFNY, before Phil Evans. And I said, I said, hey, you going to any shows? Because we'd go to a lot of shows together over the years. And He says, "Well, you know what? There's no real listings out there anymore for concerts. I can't go to a Now magazine on a Thursday to see what's going on." I said, "Well, Scott and I do our own concert listings." He goes, "Can you please send me that?" So I hope people are making use of that, because we, on our our huge retirement salaries, we put a lot of effort into putting that together. So
we're working on trying to get that up on our website. So stay tuned and bear with us.
We're
old guys trying to figure out technology.
I know. We're one step at a time. So there's a bunch of concerts this week that are being announced. Philip Glass Ensemble, June 20th at Kerner Hall. Nice. This one is going to be spectacular. Muse and Block Party. I don't know, Scott, have you ever seen Muse play? I don't know if you have.
I have not, no.
So Muse and Block Party playing July 15th at RBC Amphitheater. To give you some context on Muse, how great their stage show is, in the early, I'm going to say mid 2010s or whatever, they came in and did Scotiabank at the time. I was so blown away by their stage show, and Rush were starting to put together all their stuff for Clockwork Angels tour at the time. I was so blown away. I was like, I called Peggy Ciccone, the late Peggy Ciccone, the next day and said, "Peggy, you're not going to believe what I just saw the last night at Muse." I said, this is hands down one of the best live production shows I've ever seen. The entire Rush production crew went to see Muse because they did two nights at Scotiabank back then, or I guess Air Canada Center. They're that good. So it's going to be really, really great. Daniel Caesar, obviously off of Juno, August 2nd, Scotiabank. Eagles of Death Metal coming August 18th, Danforth Music Hall. Always a solid show with those guys. Here's two of your favorites, Scott. Deep Purple in Kansas on August the 18th at RBC Amphitheater.
I'll take Deep Purple and I'll pass on Canvas, but Kansas, yeah.
I'd pass on. Unfortunately, I pass on both. I seriously don't take Kansas as being a great, people, Kansas are a great prog band. I'm like, they were a good band, but to me, I just don't think they hold they don't hold up to Yes and Genesis, in my opinion, but each to his own. Deep Purple sadly disappointed me. It wasn't the last time they were here, but the time before, there was about a 38-minute drum solo, and there was also some real extended, like here's somebody doing a 20-minute guitar solo so the rest of the band can come off, and then somebody doing a bass solo. It just wasn't my thing, but who knows? Maybe they've changed. The Wallflowers coming to the Danforth Music Hall on the 21st of August. And Lily Allen, I think she's doing something at Massey Hall upcoming very soon, but she is coming back, a return show September 10th at RBC Amphitheater. This one, I think...
Lily Allen, April 7 and 8, Massey Hall.
Right. So, but now she's coming back, and they just announced September 10th to RBC. I kind of, I'm quite surprised, because I honestly don't think that Lily Allen's most recent record was great, but who am I? I guess she's got a lot of fans here. Now, this one I think is going to be a lot of fun. Weezer, the Shins, and Silver Sun Pickups have just been announced for September 25th at Scotiabank. And the other one is just if you're traveling, and this is if you're a jazz fan, they just announced the lineup for Montreal Jazz Festival. Quite honestly, one of the best jazz festivals on the planet. Certainly, probably the best in North America. June 25th onwards. So always a great mixture. Lionel Richie, Earth, Wind and Fire, Dana Krall, Coco Roco, Max Richter, Molly Johnson, and probably about 75 to 100 other acts playing at Montreal Jazz. Take a holiday, go down to Montreal for a week, and it is a combination of paid and free. But you can see amazing free shows for some of these major acts, and there'll be 100,000 people watching these jazz shows. So I just wanted to make mention of those.
Great. Okay, let's do the 80s. All right, let's kick off with a couple of live shows. So 40 years ago this week, we're looking at the week, April 6th to the 12th. Yes. So Ministry plays April 10th at RPM. This was one that Shep helped promote. He was good friends with the guys, and this was a CFNY Presents and recorded too, because that show, even though recorded in April 86, ended up on a live album that was later released in 2015, in May of 2015. It's actually called Toronto 1986.
Yeah, a few bands have been, as we know, we've talked about this before, Ministry, the Chameleons, and a few others. REM had these shows that were recorded by CFNY that ended up as live albums. I'm almost 100% sure, and I can go and dig it out. I think I've got the beta Submaster for the Ministry show too in my collection.
Could you find it right now, or that might take some time?
No, I couldn't. It's in the back room, but I've seen it.
The big room. Yes. Yeah. Oh, and one of these, if you're ever on YouTube and watch, we are on YouTube with this podcast, that Ivar is in just a small sub room from the big music room that's got all the collection, and we're going to do a show in there one of these days.
We're going to start getting
the weather gets better.
Got to get up my ass and move it out of this room, and we're going to do some redecorating. I'm going to put some other background things up here too. So anyway, we'll do change for the summer.
40 years ago this week, the week of that we're talking about in April 11th, 1986, LL Cool J at the Concert Hall. I'm not sure that this is his first show, but in my notes here from back when we were doing live in Toronto, that my notes here say that he was a hour and a half late, and then played for 30 minutes. And also in the notes, it says it was a sweatbox. The venue did not have AC. It wasn't installed until June that summer.
I mean, I don't even believe they had it that summer. But anyway, I mean, listen, that was par for the course for hip hop shows back then. They all started late, and they all didn't go for very long. And I think the thing was just the sort of like the cultural divide on hip hop. That's what pretty much all the hip hop shows were, right? Like, so they were. I remember when the first time when Grandmaster Flash came, and it was $20 and everybody was going, where's all the instruments? Like, where's the guitars? Where's the drums and stuff? And they come on stage and DJ for 25 minutes, and that was the end of the show, and people lost their minds, right? So I think people were still, were having a hard time because hip hop was new at the time. It was still relatively new, and people didn't really know what was going on with it. But to me, having these shows that are going, oh yeah, he's on an hour and a half late, that was actually, compared to a bunch of other hip hop shows that I worked on or had, when I was at Polygram, was like, that was early, right? Because a lot of these shows, oh yeah, the doors open at 8, they're going to be on at 9. It's like, there you are at midnight, they're still not on, right? Somebody's at the hotel, somebody didn't get paid, somebody's at the border still. It's like, you make the best of it. You go with the flow.
Or someone's
but I will say too, that I loved LL Cool J. He was one of the best artists I ever worked with. He was a just super guy, top to top. Much respect for LL.
Also, April 8, 1986, 40 years ago, Beastie Boys at the Copa. This, believe it or not, is their third time, because the first time they played, they opened for Madonna, and they also did a one-off at the Twilight Zone the year before. Shep, by the way, was the DJ at this show. He was friends with the guys, and they had, been connected for some time. Beastie Boys at the Copa.
Yeah, I would always get shot down when I would make jokes and saying, in the current era, they're going, it's International Women's Day, and I said, should we play, "Girls" by the Beastie Boys or "Hey Ladies"? Like, no, that's not, you couldn't do that anymore, right? So. And there's nothing wrong with those songs, because it was just like, girls to do the dishes, girls to clean up my room, or whatever. It's like, but it just doesn't go down very well. And then the whole, hey ladies, get funky. Anyway, all right. I'll move on.
So that's okay. So 45 years ago, we're still in the 80s here. We're going back to 81. Crocodiles, Echo and the Bunnymen was released. Oh, actually, before we talk about Echo and the Bunnymen, I missed Street Songs. The Rick James album, Street Songs, was out this week in 81, and that had Super Freak on it.
That's his biggest record, and of course,
Give It To Me, Baby.
Rick James, he had some major roots in Toronto because he was a draft dodger, and he was in Toronto came up to Toronto as a draft dodger in 1964 and 65, and he ended up connecting with like Neil Young, and he connected with members of the band, and he formed the Minor Birds. That had Neil Young was in the Minor Birds with Rick James, and one of the other, and one, and his pseudo name at the time was Ricky James Matthews to avoid his draft dodging up here. But he was also at one point when he got here, he got into a big street fight, and he was rescued by none other than Garth Hudson and Levon Helm of the band. And he ended up being a big part of the Yorkville scene back in those early days. And in 1965, he formed the Mynah Birds, and those members included Neil Young and Bruce Palmer, who went on to be Bruce Palmer went on to be in Buffalo Springfield, and Nick St. Nicholas, who was in Steppenwolf later on. So he had like a super, Canadian super group that he played with as the Mynah Birds, and then got signed to Motown. They had a couple of minor hits, but obviously when he got eventually was into the 80s, I mean, the Super Freak record was the biggest of his career.
Yeah. Huge. Okay, let's talk about Echo and the Bunnymen for a second here. A couple things. Crocodiles was out in 81. The same night that single was released, they were playing their first shows in Toronto at the Edge. I've got, this happened a lot at the Edge. They did 2 shows on the same night, Edge being a very small venue in that. So were you at those shows at all?
I was, and I was at the El Macombo shows too. I mean, I've probably seen Echo and the Bunnymen 20 times over the years. I mean, quite frequently. And I always loved that the way they were able, it was both Echo and the Bunnymen and the Water Boys were able to do these songs that kind of morphed into other people's songs, not Echo and the Bunnymen songs. And it was like, when they'd play a song and then it would kind of morph into like, the Doors, or it would morph into, a line from, somebody else's song or whatever. They were really good at doing those types of things to, extend those songs. But to me, they were always one of my favorite bands during that CFNY era. We were always hugely supportive. And I think that was also for me, Echo and the Bunnymen is one that we can really sort of, pin on us as being one of our bands. And you could never say that was a Q107 band or a Chum band at the time, even though I think Chum might have spun a couple of tracks from Echo at the time. But that was definitively one of our bands. And then even into the 90s when, Mac was doing solo records and they kind of went off in a different direction. But here they are back, and I think that right now they're making a real comeback. There seems to be, I'm getting a lot of people asking, "Hey, Ivor, you're going to go see Echo and the Bunnymen again?" Like they're pretty strong right now.
Yeah, well, let me touch on that because I was going to read just a bit of a review from the other night to see, because there were some issues with Ian and his performances in recent tours. Just here's a little bit of give you the idea of the prices. Ticket prices. So those first Echo and the Bunnymen shows, which I've seen them live too, and I loved Echo and the Bunnymen. Anyway, the first Edge shows, it was $6 a ticket to see Echo and the Bunnymen. Now they're playing History on, what's the date? June 13th, which is sold out, by the way. And originally, the original tickets were like $60 to $100 if you got a ticket. Now the aftermarket prices are $142 up to $600 resale. Compared to that $6 back in the day, yeah.
I mean, honestly, that Ontario government law, that the anti-scalping law that they're talking about, it can't come quick enough. Like people are just completely, me included, fed up with paying those types of prices. Right? It's fucking insanity. I don't know how people can they can possibly afford it. I know that they can't. They got to really pick their spots, and back in those days you wouldn't give it a thought twice if there was these bands that you really wanted to go see that you'd be able to go and afford it. But now you're going, you have to be really, really proficient with getting in on Ticketmaster to get a ticket, or maybe a StubHub, and they're not priced too much. I mean, and then you have to have a strategy going, well, if you didn't get in and you get a ticket, you wait until the last minute because the high price tickets are going to go at a lower price eventually. It becomes a huge waste of people's time, and then you get all the extra ticket fees and all the extra bullshit that's added on to those fees. And so now you're just like, a lot of people, great that those shows are sold out, but in a lot of instances, people just going, it's not worth my while. I'm not going to bother to go and see it. So you really are picking your spots on that. Whereas back in the day, you're going, well, my budget's, whatever, $100 and that's it. That's all I'm, able to pay. But it's just, and then of course, dynamic pricing that comes into that too. If something's selling really well and all of a sudden the prices tick up. So I just, I remember when the first time the smoking law came in Toronto, and that didn't have any teeth. So you walk into a bar and it's like, well, you can't smoke in this part of the restaurant, but you can smoke on the other side. I'm like, well, what point is that, right? And so it just didn't have any teeth. But the second time around, obviously it did, and it worked. And this is one of the things that I'm just hoping for, because I did see it firsthand in the UK a couple of months back. On all of a sudden, it's all gone away. All of the the secondary ticket places are all illegal now, and you can't buy a ticket other than what it was sold for face value. The only way you can get aftermarket tickets if you go to an out of country site, which you can still get tickets from a couple of Irish ticket sites, but even those weren't that much more expensive. So I really hope that we're able to adopt that system properly, and we do away with this nonsense. I mean, you're seeing it on the World Cup right now, and you can't get the absolute cheapest ticket for a World Cup game is $2,200 right now. Insanity.
It is. Fingers crossed that we'll get some of this managed and help, even if it helps a little bit. But it seems in some ways that the genie's out of the bottle. It's hard to pull back.
Hey man, if the UK can do it,
yeah.
Canada can do it too. Ontario can do it too.
Just to go back on Echo and the Bunnymen, and this is just a really quickie here from website Indie Scene UK. This is from the show in Brighton just a couple of nights ago. The review says McCulloch seemed particularly energized towards the beginning of the set, even exclaiming in between tracks he was in a good mood. Went on to later ramble about his dislike for Morrissey. Then midway through the performance, he requested a stool and performed the rest of the set list seated. There was also, just further in the review, they talk about how, and I read this in a couple of other reviews too, that the band itself was very, very tight. It's almost like they're making up for, issues with Ian. Will Sargent particularly is just in fine form. The song's sounding great, but there's been a couple of shows where Ian's brought out a stool and sat on a stool, and then also some complaints like he's overdoing having the audience sing certain parts of certain songs. And the question there is, his health, and is he up for it?
I mean, let's face it, he's the same age as I am. He's 66 years old, and you get to a point where, I heard this also too. The only criticism I heard of the Rush performance on the Junos, and let me just be clear on that, all of the Junos, with the exception of Rush, and I can't say definitively, but generally would have been 2-track, not live. And Geddy Lee's, people were saying that Geddy, didn't have the range on his vocals on Finding My Way. Well, but when you're 22, you got it. But when you're in your 70s or your late 60s, mid to late 60s, like Mac is, there's going to be some challenges along the way. You just can't do it like you used to. There are, these artists that, are working through it in their 80s, and even Herb Alpert at age 90, although he's not a singer, that you're going to have some vocal problems and some challenges. We saw that with Phil Collins, and Phil Collins sat down for that entire last time that Genesis was there for that set. So, it's not what it used to be. And if you're going to have people sing along and do some of the parts that Ian can't do, then that's just the way it goes.
Fair enough. That's a good argument. It's funny you mentioned Herb Alpert there, and I'm thinking, although he's not a singer, it's just that the power of your lungs, at his age, and being able to blow the trumpet. I never played the trumpet, but or is it what does he play? Bugle, trumpet?
It's a trumpet. It's a trumpet. But he's 90 years old and has
so there's no way he's going to be able to blow that trumpet like he did when he was 30.
So there's going to have and so you have some other people, but when you're the lead vocalist, it's not the easiest. You can't really, it's like with Geddy and the Rush tour having, Lauren Gold come in and do the keyboards. You can do that, but there's only one Geddy to sing those songs. There's only one Phil Collins to sing on that version of Genesis, apart from the odd background vocal. So it's tough shoes to fill for Ian McCullough at this point. So you get the people that loved you, the fans, to sing along with a couple of parts and go from there.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's finish one more from the 80s. Just a clip from Remembrance Day. B-movie released 6th of April, 1981. Classic track from CFNY days.
In the forest, in the snow, all those many years ago, hailstones and epitaphs, hoarding mills and half-mast flags, in the cemetery where they fell, all those many years ago, but now it's just a memory eroded by the years.
Remembrance Day B-movie? Yes.
That's one that you would have heard on my show first, and I still have the CFNY control room copy of that one.
Oh, very cool.
It's in the slideshow on the Doc tour.
Oh, good. Take another picture of that. Send it to me. I'll post it on our socials. That finishes the 80s, so we're running quickly out of time here. I'll run through birthdays this week. Janice Ian turning 75. Mel Shacker, Grand Funk Railroad, turned 75 this week, and Lisa Stansfield turned 60.
Yeah,
that'll
Lisa
make you feel
Stansfield.
old when Lisa Stansfield's turning 60. I feel old.
I took Queen Latifah to see Lisa Stansfield at a theater show in Toronto in my promo days. So that was I remember Queen Latifah absolutely loved Lisa Stansfield. She was dancing and singing along to every song. That is my good memory of my Lisa Stansfield experience.
Wow. Anything you wanted to say on Mel of Grand Funk?
Well, Grand Funk, just that, in my when I was in, I guess it's senior public school or before high school, the Grand Funk were one of my all-time favorite bands in the early 70s. I think they were a band that really annoyed everybody's parents, especially when that live album came out, for sure. And I remember my mother was like, "Oh, like he's not allowed to have any more records." And my
turn that off.
That was just the set. And I do remember one year at Christmas was my cousin had one of his really cheeky friends. Like this was like his Eddie Haskell friend, and he was very happy because he decided that he'd give his mom the Grand Funk live album for Christmas. And I was like, boy, that's not a very good gift. But right.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Merry Christmas, Bob. Here's the Grand Funk live album. And if you ever heard that record, it's not exactly Pete, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass or the Tommy Hunter show. I will say that I did finally get a chance to see Grand Funk. I never got to see them my entire time until it's probably about 7 or 8 years ago. Bob Seger played in Buffalo, and last minute addition to the show was Grand Funk. And so we didn't get to say hi to Seger that night, but the tour manager goes, "Oh, you guys want to say hi to Grand Funk?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want to say hi to Grand Funk." And I was like Mike Myers in Wayne's World, and I'm like, we are not worthy. We are not worthy that I got a chance to finally meet Grand Funk after all those years. So,
yeah, when I hear Grand Funk Railroad, I think cowbells every time. I just already hearing cowbells.
And I didn't like their stuff in the later years, but those first four records or so I thought were great. So,
okay, some people who we lost in the past week: DJ Dan, who was a DJ producer who was in a kind of collective called Funky Techno Tribe. And they actually played in a couple of raves in Toronto. I think they played the Dose rave in September of 95, and he went on to DJ at a whole bunch of raves after that, and he died of a heart attack, just 57 years old. Dash Crofts, 87, complications from heart surgery, lost Dash Crofts of Seals and Crofts.
We never got to see that super group that David Letterman, he was proposing that they had put together a super group between Seals and Crofts and Brewer and Shipley. It never happened, Scott. I don't know why, but it was Letterman was all for that.
Yes. And also Suki Lahav. Suki was her kind of nickname. She played, I didn't know who she was, had to look it up. So Suki was a violinist that played on some early Bruce Springsteen albums, also toured with the E Street Band as well. Sang some vocals too, I think.
Yeah. It's funny on the E Street Band. It was like I spun on my Buffalo show. I played Ian Hunter Wild East. And that You're Never in Love with a Schizophrenic record. And I never realized that the backing band on that record was the E Street Band with Mick Ronson playing together. And I was like, and I always thought that record was so amazing. And I never really sort of paid attention to who the backing band was. I was like, oh, that's why it was so great. They got the E Street Band with Mick Ronson. You couldn't get any better at the time.
Yeah, a lot of credit to, I don't know if he got help putting the band together. Maybe the label helped put that E Street Band together, but geez, I mean,
they're fantastic.
Just to hear them live.
Yep, absolutely.
Amazing. We just have the 70s to finish. We're running out of time, so just anything here you want to touch on from the 70s? I'll just quickly mention Roxy Roller from Sweeny Todd.
Oh, Canadian.
50 years ago.
Canadian classic,
yes.
and sort of like a Canadian glam song. So, yeah, it had its part. I mean, I remember it. Not that I went to them, but the occasional time we go to a strip club, and that was a strip club favorite. Roxy Roller. I always remember that one when ladies, gentlemen, put your hands together for the lovely and the talented Alicia. They would usually come on to Roxy Roller.
Still played on some Canadian radio stations.
Oh, I'm sure it is, along with the Kings switching to Glide and Heart's Crazy on You, right?
Yeah. 50 years ago, April 12th, talking about live albums, the Bob Seger Live Bullet album, big selling album, big record.
Great record, absolutely. If you're a big Seger fan, we've talked about Bob and the live situation a number of times, so we don't need to go in any depth.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say Laura Niro at Massey Hall.
Laura Niro, Massey Hall. Laura Massey Hall. Yeah. I'd say to me, one of the greatest songs ever of the 60s was Stone Soul Picnic. It was a song that I really pushed hard to get Jan Arden to cover, and I went to Bruce Allen on it and said, Jan should do this for one of her cover albums. They never ended up doing, but if I go back to Laura Niro, that's a song to me is one of the greatest songs of the era from way back when.
Okay. And that is probably it for this week. We're out of time.
All right, Scott. Else? Well, thanks so much. We'll get back at it with some more guests in next week. Thanks for doing 22. I hope you and Stacy have a great Easter, and I hope that all of the viewers and listeners have had a great Easter. You can catch me. I'm back again on the Edge Time Machine this weekend on Sunday nights at 6 o'clock, and back on BTPM The Bridge 10 o'clock Sundays. NY The Spirit Tuesdays at 7 o'clock for First Spin, and you can look up the other repeats later in the week.
Yes, and as everybody says, they call it Holy Week here in Costa Rica, so happy Holy Week, everybody. Okay, Ivor, thank you, and follow our socials, Music Milestones, YYZ. Thanks, everybody.